34 government executive heads to implement digital payment systems or face disciplinary action. Now speaking during the first anniversary of the e-Citizen relaunch at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, the President expressed dissatisfaction with the slow rollout of digitized services. Now, despite its potential to revolutionize service delivery, only 13 million Kenyans currently use the platform. Timothy Simwa reports on the government's push to fast-track digital transformation.
People who are still mangering, yeah, and I want to put them on notice. The people who still are playing games with us.
President William Ruto has put 34 executive heads on notice, demanding full compliance with the government's digital payment agenda within a week.
Cancer Institute of Kenya, Kenya Hospital Authority Trust Fund, Kenya Nutritionist and Dietitians Institute, Health Records and Information Managers Board, National Syndemic Disease Control Council.
This ultimatum came as the President led celebrations marking the first anniversary of the e-Citizen platform relaunch at the Kenyatta International Convention Center.
These entities have yet to comply with my directive.
The e-Citizen initiative was envisioned as a milestone in service delivery, offering Kenyans convenient online access to government services and seamless electronic payments.
We have numerous payment methods.
But 1 year on, adoption remains underwhelming, with only 13 million Kenyans utilizing the platform. Despite the low numbers, the President believes e-Citizen has lived up to expectations by dismantling inefficiencies, delays, bureaucracies and frustrations in service delivery.
E-Citizen is not just a digital service delivery platform. It represents a paradigm shift that has redefined public service delivery in Kenya and profoundly impacted lives.
At the same time, the head of state noted deliberate sabotage by some government agencies resisting digitization efforts.
Those who are against the digitization of government services at the KWS even orchestrated, in our gates, long queues. This system is not working.
Meanwhile, Kenyans had their say on e-Citizen efficiency, and their views leave a lot to be desired.
E-Citizen sisi hatuelewi na tunaomba wenye wanahusika nayo wakuje ndio tupate kuelimika zaidi na kujua ni nini maana yake.
Hii story za e-Citizen, mimi nilisikia kitu kama 1 year ago. Kuna msee kwa niangalia ile DL driving license, lakini leo sina gari, nitaangalia nini? So hizo story za e-Citizen kwa saizi ground haifanyi kazi sana.
E-Citizen ni nzuri kwa sababu mimi nishai kuitumia ku-apply passport na vitu vingine kama ku-renew license ya gari na vitu namna hiyo. La pili, ina shida kidogo, shida ni ile network sometimes inakuja network inakuta ambayo imeenda kama siku 2-3 hakuna.
Wengine wanaenda milango ya nyuma wanapata, lakini kwa saa hii ninaona hii ya digital hii service takuwa rahisi hata kama niko wapi nalipia tu.
For the government, Kenya has become a model of harnessing digital technology. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us here. Now we want to get to our interview this particular evening. Of course, we are speaking to Daji Atela, who is the Secretary General of KMPDU. Thank you so much for making time this night, sir.
Thank you so much.
Right, I want us to start from this. On the 8th of May, I sat down with you here after, you had a meeting with the government to some extent, trying to get to the end of a strike that had taken 56 days. And by then, you had called off a strike. 7 months later, we are back to issuing strike notices. What happened?
When we are on strikes, we endeavor to have negotiations with government and dialogue on the issues that affect our members. And therefore, when we went on the 56-day strike, There were issues that had not been implemented in the collective bargaining agreement that was signed 7 years ago. And some of the critical matters there in the CBA was the arrears that were owed to doctors for 7 years, and the implementation of that in the pay slips. We had the issue of interns that has been in existence, that has been paid particular wages for the last 25 years, and which was then changed in 2017 and been paid smoothly for 7 years. That also we were in contestation, because when we were going on strike, our aim was to have the interns posted. We didn't have an issue of wages. Then in the process, they brought the issue of wages that we took to court. And therefore, at that point, waiting for the deliberations and outcomes of court, at that point, we were having a one-farm stand that the interns had to be sorted out in a similar manner that we've done for the last 7 years. We had progress that this will be sorted out in 60 days from the time we call off the strike. The wages, the arrears were to be paid by July, this is 2024. And the money was supposed to be in our payroll by August this year. We had issues of promotion of doctors across the entire country that were to be sorted out. So there were elements of things that were to be sorted out in the return to work formula. But here is a time that is 7 months. We have been following in boardrooms and in meetings to ensure that this is done. But then nothing has been done. And when that happens, then we have to take the action that is necessary, because strikes is actually part of negotiations and part of bargaining. We are here because governments that promised us, they're not conmen, they're not like previous governments, are actually going to implement our agreement, the return to work formula, which was adopted as a court order.
And I remember that time I asked you, because we come from a history of, to some extent, a government not willing to honor the agreements that you signed with them. And I asked you whether this time it's going to be honored. And you said if it's not, then you're going to get back to the streets. But I want to get to this. Do you feel like you're shortchanged in that particular agreement 7 months later?
It's not a matter of being shortchanged. It is a matter of the government undermining the roles of doctors in the hospitals, and the government being dishonest and mischievous in their ways of dealing with the unions. Because if a return to work agreement has been signed and deposited in court, it is a court order. It's meant to be honored and it's meant to be implemented. We have a situation of resolving the issue of the intern doctors, that there was a promissory plan of being done within 60 days. Within 60 days, we had only one meeting, which there was planning another meeting. Then, in all essence, there was just deliberate plan with government not to implement these issues. So that's why a point comes and we say, no, as much as the strike is not what we want to do, but then we have been forced to go on strike because immediately we signed the return to work formula. It seems they went back into their slumberland. And I'm saying this with a lot of confidence. But where we are now is the best time to be on strike. Because each doctor knows how much they are owed by government that they owed to pay from all the counties. Each doctor knows the amount that need to be in their pay slips as per the agreement. We know very well how much interns are to be paid. At that time, we were asking for interns to be posted. We are at a time when interns have worked for 4 months that have not been paid. So the entire variety of doctors, from interns to the consultants, are owed money that ought to be paid. So now we just want our debt to be prioritized the way we do for all the debts that the country have.
You say we are going on strike. Of course, you're going to announce that on the 30th of this month when during the National Delegates Conference. But also, on first, you say this time round, during your press conference, you said you will not be swayed to having a dialogue like you did last time. So how will we get to solve this then?
Because we don't need dialogue on this. We don't need negotiations, because we had negotiated and have a return to work formula that need to be implemented. We just need the government to release funds from the treasury to the doctors' accounts in the 47 counties and the ministry. We just need government to release money from the treasury to the Ministry of Health and pay the interns who have worked. So it's a simple thing. We cannot negotiate about payment. We negotiate about the issues that need to be resolved, which we did for 56 days. At this point, we want the payments to be done. By the way, the government went to court. We went to court and the government tried to defend the matter. And the court said one thing. The government had a right to get SRC advisory. But the advisory was in conflict or in dispute with our CBA, that the amount that need to be paid to the interns is clear. So in essence, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel in this situation.
I was looking at that, and it's like the courts did tell you to go have a discussion with the SRC in order to get to an agreement as far as that is concerned.
You know, by law, we cannot talk with SRC. We talk with the employer, and the employer here is the Ministry of Health.
So you have not had a conversation based on the court's direction?
No. The court asked for negotiation. It means the court took a neutral point in this particular issue and said, fine, you are a union, go and have negotiations. And negotiations is very clear for unions. A negotiation means you sit in the boardroom and bring your case, which we've done for the last 45 days. And we have been negotiating with a stone that cannot turn and cannot change anything. We keep saying that bargaining or negotiating with the Ministry of Health is like milking a stone or making an iron. Nothing will come out. So once we realize that nothing is coming out, then we have now resort to give a strike notice. Why? Because strikes is not the breakdown of negotiation. It's actually just a build up and a strengthen it. So us going down to withhold all our skills is to make the government understand the need of resolving this matter. That it is part of the court order that we negotiate. So actually dialogue is part of the strike. Yeah.
There is, ever since you issued the statement that you are actually going to be calling for a strike nationwide, has there been any attempt to get in touch with the medical practitioners in order to, avert that particular strike?
You know, one thing that is very critical is that the doctors in this country right now are experiencing one of the greatest despair, and they are frustrated. They're highly disillusioned, and that's why you've seen the sad incidents that we've had in the month of September, and also we had this particular week. I must also tell you that we have had about 5 cases that were near fatal, where the doctors were almost taking their lives. And this is not limited to only the intern doctors. I must say that the doctors also who are working in the counties are frustrated. We have Kiambu County that has delayed paying wages for doctors over 2 months, and when they ask for their wages, the county government removes them from payroll. We have had Machakos counties where doctors have been on strike for the last 64 days. We have Elgeyo Marakwet where doctors are on strike even as we speak now. And therefore, this is a crusade of events of injustice that's being perpetrated despite the negotiations and the agreements that we had. So yes, we have just delayed into going back into the strike. Ideally, we should have gone back in July or in October or in September latest. But because we do not take strikes for granted, we have to go on strike when you know enough is enough and nothing else is going to change unless we take that action. And this strike that we are going to go, yes, our National Advisory Council have voted for it to go to be on, and we are still meeting tomorrow. But we have to veto the decisions and the actions with the doctors. That's why we have the special delegate conference that is seeing almost 600 doctors in Nairobi. Why? Because we want to tell the doctors, go back. We have given the notice, go and stay at home once the strike commences. And the only thing that should call you back to work is your bank account. Because there's no any other way the government will listen. The government has proven to be dishonest, and the persons in office cannot be believed anymore.
You blamed the death that we've been able to experience, and that's on a sad note, of course, with Dr. Mora and also Dr. Francis Joki, on the government because they did die by suicide. Why?
The government is entirely responsible for the deaths of the interns that have taken place, and even the death of the registrar, which took place yesterday. Because look at it, that we've had wages for doctors that has been there since independence, or since 1967. We've had to bargain with government of the day in 2011 to have wages that changed the lives of doctors at that time. We've had a CBA that was signed, an agreement in 2017 that has paid consistent wages to 2024. What is it, or where has the money for paying the interns gone this particular year that will make the government let these doctors be in the hospitals without wages? Why will it be that your wages are reduced from 200,000 gross to 70,000 gross and tasked more, so that every doctor intern here who is going to contribute to the biggest chunk of the universal health care, wages reduced to 41,000 per month? That clearly shows you that there's ill will in the government. This has not been there before. They introduced it. It is their problem. They are to solve it. So the death that occurred during strikes is squarely on government, because they have not resolved the issues for this period. The strike that we are going to go is for the government. The death that we have seen for the doctor interns that have occurred, it is the government. Had they paid these interns, had they paid these doctors their wages, had they implemented the CBA as we agreed, nobody will be here in the need to go on strike. But since they failed to do this, it is clearly that they are responsible. The ministers of health, the people who are in charge of government in different facilities, in the treasury, they're directly causing the deaths and the despair of doctors in this country. And not only doctors. Okay. I think every agreement needs to be honored. Otherwise, there's no value of having an agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this strike, the moment it starts, the only thing that is going to make you come from that particular strike is if at all the payments have been honored and the agreement has been honored. That is the only thing.
There are always two ways to determine an agreement has been honored. Like in this case, our agreement. We have monthly payrolls that are run by the government. So we have to see into the pay slips, as this money has been factored. And that is for all the interns and all the doctors in the country. That is an indication that this money will be paid. That is one option. Okay. If the doctors decide so. And if doctors say that we want to have to see this money in our account, that will be the case. Because a reality is here. We said before that goodwill is determined by progressive engagements that are fulfilled. The government say that they are new in office and they're ready to implement. Yes, we have distrust of the previous governments, but they're different. But this has proven otherwise because it is 7 months and all the deadlines that we set forth have not been honored. And you saw here recently the new chair of the Council of Governors saying that because they were not given 400 billion as they requested the Treasury or the government, the first thing they will not honor is the implementations of the return to work formula of doctors. That shows you the dishonest, that shows you the disgust, that shows you the distance that they hold the doctors with.
All right. Yeah. I want to wind up on this conversation. My last question will be, you see, the kind of work environment that you're fighting for in terms of what has been causing most of what we've been able to experience as far as Dr. Mora and Dr. Francis is concerned. When she left a note, she said it was one of the tedious working environments, stressed and overworked, around the clock, 12-hour shifts, stretching all the way to 36 hours. What kind of environments are our doctors subjected to when it comes to working environments?
I want to tell you that most of the times, the people we negotiate with in the boardrooms are oblivious of the working conditions that doctors are in. That will drive somebody to the point that they feel there's no need to live anymore. Okay. And when we say it, some people think that we are just in some jokes. The reality is that you will be in the hospitals, you have no ability, you have to beg for transport to reach that hospital. And you're demanded to be there on time for 24 hours in a week, for a day. You're demanded to be there the whole week. The persons that are asking you to be in those hospitals, they don't care whether you've eaten any food. They don't care about any rents that you hold to people. They don't care about the debts. Right. And that's the reality. You cannot be in the hospital for 24 hours generating revenue with those hospitals, but at the same time, your welfare is not catered for. And that's why the union is here. The union are these doctors who have said, no, enough is enough. And we cannot see any more lives. We cannot lose any more lives. And therefore, it's a joint actions of all doctors, from interns to the consultants, that whatever we agreed upon, the CBA has to be implemented. If they get away with the intern doctors, then a consultant is not safe. Nobody will be safe. And that's why I can tell you for sure that on 30th, we will issue the strike notice and we will proceed on this particular strike. Okay, so you
proceed on strike on the 1st of December. Thank you so much, Daji Atela, Secretary General, KMPDU. Thank you so much for making time for this, trying to make sense of what is happening in the country as far as healthcare is concerned. Right, we do want to take a break here on the program. When we come back, I'll be taking you through some, more news here on the program. We take a break. We'll be back in a few.
The biggest reggae and rhythm show ever on Kenyan television. You have a ganja man and you wanna forget. Juggle with the reggae boys. Okay, you get the new clocks, the daddy. Freeze! When we dance, it's sweet. The talking master MC Full Stop.
Ninja, rako ishachukuliwa ikavunjwa kama mayai.